So I want to ask you why you got started in music and share how I got started and became successful, touring 22 different countries, 500,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. And I never wanted to do music in a million years. I failed music in school. So I think God has a sense of humor. The fact that I'm doing music full time and have been for over, 14, 15 years. And I'm curious about how you started music and why, and post it below. And I bet you it wasn't because of money, For me, it's because music, I loved it. I loved Michael Jackson. I loved the Beastie Boys. I loved Beach Boys, all the boys, Beatles, all kinds of music growing up as a kid. A lot of hip hop, Wu-Tang, Rage Against the Machine, Guns N' Roses. Like I could name so many bands, songs, Nirvana, different things that inspired me from hip hop, rock to punk, because it touched me in a certain way. But I didn't want to do music because, I had a bad taste in my mouth as far as playing instruments, but, writing and performing songs, I'd never even thought about it. And some of you know my story. I wanted to be a pro skater, but I hurt myself skateboarding. And so I was depressed, I was discouraged, and my dad committed suicide when I was 5. And so I didn't want to go that path, even though I was really depressed and really lonely. And I just want you to imagine, like, something that you do every day, all of a sudden you can't do it anymore. And that's where I was with skateboarding. And so I went to this church youth group because I heard there's going to be girls there, and there was. And but I ended up seeing some buddies of mine. Well, I didn't actually know. I knew one or two of them, or I met them before. But they were doing a concert and they were rapping. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like really, really cool, man. And so I introduced myself to these guys and just started chatting and stuff and just asking them about it, and ended up becoming friends with one of these guys. And he started teaching me about rap and writing, and he took me to the record store, and we bought some vinyl, and we would rap and write lyrics over these other guys' beats and stuff. And so this led to the next thing, and hiring producers and making my own track and eventually having my own beat and my own song. And I was in a rap group for a while, and then talk about egos. If you can imagine the egos in that world is just crazy. So long story short, if you think bands break up, man, you should try hip hop groups, okay? Where the egos, where everybody wants to be the front man. And so I ended up going as a solo artist. And funny story, I knew this one rap group that I'd watched them perform, and there was always two kind of alpha guys in the group would like really hog the mic and hog the stage, and there's like another 4 guys that were a little bit more, subdued. But it was just so funny watching these guys kind of fiend for the limelight, But I started to learn how to write these songs, but then the rock influence came over because I was just always loved the rock stuff, and ended up, hiring guys to help me write rock songs. And I didn't know what I was doing. I'll never forget the guy had made my first rock beat for me, and I was like, oh my gosh. And we ended up putting out an EP and didn't know what we were doing, and eventually got signed by meeting other artists that had got signed, and we would go down to Nashville for this thing called the GMAs and try and pitch our stuff to labels and do all this stuff, and eventually get on tours and shows. And I remember we went all the way to the Bronx, New York to do this event called Rap Fest, and had nowhere to sleep after the show. And me, my DJ, and my girlfriend, who's now my wife, stayed at this disgusting hotel that was rented by the hour. And we all slept in one bed. I had to sleep in the middle, okay? And that was just gross. And then we did the show, I think, the next morning, and then we just drove home through the night, man. That was a pretty long drive, but it hasn't always been a bed of roses. It definitely has not been easy, even getting signed and even having some success. There's a lot of times where we wouldn't eat all day and just wait, but we kept on pursuing this dream. And I just want to remind you, always remember why you got started in this thing. I got started because I loved music, and I also wanted to tell my friends about Jesus. I wanted to write songs that would impact people. But what I realized was, with music, when I first started, I was like very preachy in my songs, and I learned to tell stories through my songs instead, and share these heartfelt stories about different things, or what God had done in my life, or how I overcame this, or moved through that, a broken heart, forgiveness, depression, courage. There's just so many emotions. Just think about movies, right? And just started to see the impact that these songs could have, not only on friends, but on a worldwide scale. And this eventually happened in Japan for me, was when we were selling 10,000 records a week, and just seeing people cry, seeing people tear up. And so I just wanted to kind of make this video to ask you, why did you first start, and maybe remind you of why you got into this so that you keep pushing forward, so you don't quit. Because over this 15 years, like even my buddy Sonny from POD said in an interview, he's like, because I said to him, I said, is there a time that you felt like quitting but didn't? And he was like, today, bro, every day, and so I say the same thing to you. Like, there's times even now when I've had so much success that I've wanted to quit, because sometimes it's like, well, I'm not as successful as I was here, or I want to be more successful, I want this or want that. And I just encourage you, just ride it out and tap into why you got started in this in the first place, because that's going to be fuel to keep you going and to keep me moving forward. If you have not listened to my book, Fighter, 5 Keys to Conquering Fear and You're Reaching Your Dreams, pick it up on Audible. I think you can get it for 30-day free trial or something like that. But listen to that, because it'll inspire. It talks about courage and overcoming stuff and discipline and perseverance and setting goals and moving forward on this stuff. And it's just a real underdog story from an industry that, tried to chew me up and spit me out, but they chewed me and spit me out. But I put myself back together many times, and maybe you feel the same way, where you've been taken advantage of, where you've been chewed up and spit out, and you're struggling to put yourself back together to keep going at this. You're like, Chris, I've swung, I don't know how many times, I've done 8 albums, or I've done this, but that's fine that you've done that many albums or done that many songs, but if you keep doing the same thing and get different results, that's the definition of insanity, isn't it? So maybe you've done a lot of stuff, but you keep doing the same thing, so you keep getting the same results. Well, have you hired a coach? Have you taken a marketing course? Have you hired a mentor, got somebody to help you who is successful or where you want to be? Or you just kind of go, oh, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I've seen you artists that I've talked to. So many friends from back in the day that just think they can just keep doing the same thing. They think talent is going to get them there, but it's not about the talent. It's about talent, yeah. It's about connections, though. It's about relationships. It's about modeling success and doing what other successful artists have done, and not just doing whatever you want to do. You can't do that. That frustrates me to no end, to think that you can just do whatever you want to do. And you put in a lot of hard work, but you put in a lot of hard work on the wrong things. You worked hard, but you didn't work smart. And I'm not trying to beat you up, but I'm just saying you can't blame anyone but yourself for doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You've got to try something different. You've got to fail trying different other things. But I get it. You've maybe tried a few things and you failed at it, but that freaked you out and it scared you out. So now you got shy feet. You're trying to hold on to what you got as opposed to risking again. But you've got to keep risking. He who insulates himself from risk insulates himself from success. Every big thing that I was scared to do, I'm glad I leaped anyways, because it led to something else. All right? Hey, hope this inspired you.